All right, welcome everybody. I see all kinds of people trickling in already. Looks like we have a good group this afternoon. Good morning or afternoon, Floor. It's good to have you here. Okay, just a couple more moments as people keep flooding in. All right, so just as a reminder, we are recording this session and it will be available in our usual live binder. And if you check out the chat pod, I have just put the link to where all of today's handouts as well as the recording will be uploaded. So the handouts are already there, and we'll probably have the recording up there within the next 24 hours or so. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get us started today. So I am Rebecca Webster, and I've got with me Brooke Curtis. She's going to help me out and monitor the chat pod if we have questions come through. So today we are talking about the 5 PBIS essentials for educators. Specifically, we're going to be talking about acknowledging appropriate behavior in a virtual environment. So we're going to go through a quick reminder of why it's so important to reward, how we can do so in the virtual world, as well as some great real life examples from some of our Florida schools, as well as some other resources. Oh, welcome, Cindy. It's good to see some Hernando County people. I miss Hernando County as well. All right, so the information that you see on this slide, as well as the next few, they're going to look a little familiar if you've been to one of our Tier 1 trainings. But I want to take this time for us to consider ways in which we can take what we already have and adapt that in our new normal in a virtual world. So if you've ever been to one of my trainings or a meeting with me, you've probably heard me say, please don't recreate the wheel. You're probably going to hear that a couple more times with me this afternoon because we really want to focus on using what we already have and making it work in our current environment. So I wanted to start off our session today with the great B.F. Skinner's quote of, "What is love except for another name for positive reinforcement," or vice versa? Because it really is true. And I think that we could all really use a little extra love right now, especially students or maybe even staff who may be in some not so safe home environments. It is just so important to continue to maintain those positive relationships that you work so hard to build in your brick and mortar classrooms. We also know that positive reinforcement serves as our greatest teaching tool when it comes to wanting to see our students engaged in desired behaviors. And during this time, it seems to be increasingly difficult to keep our students engaged in distance learning. But I am starting to see a lot of really cool ways that educators are providing positive reinforcement for simply engaging in the virtual learning process. So whether that be turning in paper packet assignments by the due date, or logging into the Zoom room on time, or simply showing some kindness to a friend. And of course, we're going to get into more examples later, but what we're really looking for is increasing that intrinsic motivation in our students, right? So we want our students to want to log in and complete their assignments and continue to want to connect with their peers and teachers. Providing positive feedback and varied rewards during virtual lessons may also help to break up those longer sessions that are more likely, our students are more likely to become disengaged. So we want to see our students engaged in positive, respectful, and safe ways of virtual learning. I know that some of us have heard of, and some of us have actually experienced Zoom bombing and how alarming that can be. So we want to ensure that we are continuing to reinforce those safe and positive environments for our students and families. So how do we do that? How can we take what we already have and make it work in the virtual world? Well, we have to teach the system, right? So just like in our brick and mortar classrooms, we still have to take the time to teach the behaviors that we want to see. So if your classroom setting is changing, your classroom rules and procedures are probably going to look a little different for that new setting. So you want to remember to explicitly teach what those desired behaviors look like. Um, and remember, it's never too late to reteach your expected behaviors. I know that we're several weeks into this new norm and the situation is ever changing. So remember, it's okay to make adjustments. For example, some easy ones, we are respectful in Zoom meetings by muting our mic while the teacher or the designated classmate is speaking. We are responsible by uploading or sending in assignments by the due date. We are safe by not sharing the Zoom room passcode and keeping everyone secure. So this is also a great time to ask your students and your families what behaviors they would like to see their peers and maybe even their teachers engaged in at this time. So, when and how rewards may be earned. Once you have those behaviors established, then set guidelines for when and how rewards are earned. So, for example, if you're using a point system, token economy, school store, whatever your language is, a tip is to start with that behavior matrix table that we talk about a lot. So, that is a wonderful place to start. So for example, the expectation is to be engaged. So students can earn 10 points for answering each Zoom poll question during class. At the end of the week, the top 5 students with the most engagement points will earn $5 Amazon gift cards. So basically for each desired behavior, list the possible reward or amount of points or dollars that that student can earn. Okay? Develop a list of preferred activities, items, or privileges that your students would like to earn or work towards. You're going to want to do this together with your students. So survey them. What do your students want right now? What are they interested in? What is motivating them right now? Is it food, Xbox points, teacher attention, peer attention, social media stardom? From there, develop a hierarchy. So determine what's doable, what is appropriate, and then make sure you make it as easy as possible. So what do you already have? Do you have some pre-made positive referrals or Tiger tokens or PBIS bucks or staff appreciation notes or other templates like that that you may have saved in a Microsoft Word doc or a PowerPoint that you can easily open up and edit and then upload into whatever virtual classroom that you are using right now? So some reminders for providing rewards. Just as in a real classroom, we want to continue to make sure that we are rewarding or providing positive descriptive praise immediately after a desired behavior occurs, and most frequently after teaching your revised virtual rules. So this is going to look a little different, like I said, depending on your virtual platform or your way of working right now. As we all know, Class Dojo is an excellent way to continue to provide those live time positive feedback for students and families so they can view it right on their devices. For older students, it might look like that you set your reminder to log into your professional or your school's social media account to provide daily or maybe even weekly praise to your students who are following your virtual school expectations. You may also want to consider the settings or the time, right? Because we're kind of all in the same setting. So what times are most problematic for your students? So is it upon starting your class meetings? Do you continue to have students who trickle in 10 to 15 minutes after the lesson has started? So maybe try a group contingency reward where if everyone logs in on time, then everyone gets to log off 5 minutes early for the day. Um, During teacher-led whole group instruction, do you still have that one kiddo who continues to make rude faces or gestures when their video camera is on? Perhaps make a point of providing positive feedback to others who are on task. During small group activities, do you seem to have two students who just want to chat with each other instead of completing the assignment? Maybe try it first then. So first, complete all of your work, and then the last 10 minutes of the session, the two of you can use for social time. During one-on-one instruction, do you have a student who may be struggling with comprehension or is therefore becoming resistant and disengaged? Maybe just talk with that student, find out what their likes and their interests are. Maybe some stronger rewards are needed there. Okay, some things to avoid. So in our Tier 1 training, we always emphasize just how important it is to never threaten or actually take an earned reward away from students, as it can lead to feelings of mistrust and ultimately damage relationships. So I think it goes without saying that, especially in our current climate, as educators, we need to be particularly mindful of how we maintain our nurturing relationships with our students and families during this time. So for example, even if we still see Johnny continuing to make those rude faces and gestures during the Zoom lecture, we wouldn't take his tiger tokens away, but rather use that moment for teaching what we expect Johnny to be doing during those lessons. And then maybe reach out later as a follow-up to see how he's doing, what's going on at home, etc. Remember, everyone gets rewarded. So we can't forget our teachers, especially now. They are going above and beyond. So remember to tell them how great they're doing. The example that you see here is from Lecanto Middle School, and they used a Google Doc for parents to fill out positive referrals for teachers. How cool is that? So this particular parent, she let her child's teacher know that she was thankful for helping her son. She was thankful for the teacher for helping her son and letting her know that her son is participating in his online assignments, because that was a fear of hers as a parent. She also said, "Thank you for caring enough to call." So that is super simple and very cool. So families, we should be rewarding our families too. We can reward them for simply following along with the school-wide expectations or being engaged. So for example, families who work together to create a science project can upload that family picture together and maybe earn a coupon from a local restaurant. Um, I think most importantly to remember that some of us might need more reinforcement than others, especially right now. So we want to keep in mind developmental levels, whether or not the student or even the parent may have a disability. Or someone might just be having a rough day on the other side of the screen. So also, we want you guys to remember that every appropriate behavior won't be rewarded. So you don't want to stop every 10 seconds of your lesson to remind everyone of how well they're doing. Um, you want to keep in mind that 4-to-1 ratio. So for every one correction of a behavior, make sure that you're providing 4 instances of positive feedback. You want to make sure that you're also seeking ongoing feedback from your students, so check in with them from time to time. Make sure that they still like the rewards that they're earning. Is there enough variety that they're choosing from? Are they getting bored with what you guys are providing? So ask those questions, check in. So like I said, as we know, it's always best to provide that specific positive praise immediately after a desired behavior occurs. But that's not always easy or situationally appropriate. So again, we don't want to stop that fluid lesson every 90 seconds to provide long-winded feedback each time a student gets an answer right or reads a passage with fluency. But instead, a teacher or even peers may want to give a quick high five, thumbs up, heart hands, fist bump, and you can't see me right now, but I'm giving you all heart hands and fist bumps, or even a little celebration dance in your chair can make it fun and gets a little movement going as well. Maybe you can come up with your own class celebration signal. Okay. If you're already using a token economy or a school store, great. You can still do those things in the virtual world. Your PBIS dollars that have been created in Word docs or PowerPoints, they can be uploaded and used virtually, or just like in the old days, we printed them out and sent them home in our student paper packets. You may want to consider editing some of the language that's on your PBIS bucks just to reflect some of those new virtual behaviors that you're looking to increase. This awesome school in Florida, they use their existing brag tag template to create a Google Doc for each classroom. So they plan to add a brag tag each week for brag-worthy accomplishments by their students. And the Google Doc explains exactly how students can earn their brag tags, such as meeting attendance goals. So there are so many activities that you guys can use as rewards that may need just a little adapting. So like lunch with the principal, instead of walking down to the cafeteria, you guys can still have your lunches via Zoom. Brain breaks. Everyone's been working really hard and quietly for 15 minutes. So you've all earned your brain break. Let's get up and dance. Maybe for older kiddos, meditation time for your break. For those older kiddos that like to volunteer uh, to do work or just hang out with the younger kiddos, maybe have your fifth graders be a guest star to read the story of the week. And then, of course, our usual things like your no homework passes, skip the odd questions, one free test, answer, extra credit. All of those things definitely still work right now. So I'm going to brag on Lecanto Middle School again. They're doing some awesome things to keep morale high in Citrus County these last couple months. So this particular example shows how students can earn PBIS points for simply engaging in fun and silly activities. The week right after this, Lecanto Middle kicked it up a notch by including families in their rewards. So they asked parents to take pictures of themselves with them and their kids, of their maybe their favorite band tee or sports, stuff like that. So every day of the week they had something that they could upload and share together. In recent weeks, they've had pizzas delivered to students for their hard work, winners posted online for school-wide scavenger hunts, candy and certificates delivered to students for high engagement levels, and just some other really cool things that they're doing. Oh, I see Brooke said that my kids got to give their teachers a tour of their room. That is pretty cool. Okay, so these schools took advantage of different types of reinforcement contingencies. So at Southdade, they took advantage of providing positive referrals to individual students, and they took the time to indicate those specific behaviors that the student exhibited. The middle example that you see there is a great example of a whole class group contingency. So Laurelwood used their possum awards to give to entire classes for being respectful during their morning meetings. And then the third example that we see on the right, they gave a shout out to the entire grade level for being hardworking leaders and completing their I-Ready assignments. Some other examples of group contingencies, maybe the students could pick out what the teacher wears for tomorrow, or the principal can wear a silly hat during the announcements. One of our project leaders actually wears a different silly hat for each of our virtual staff meetings every Monday. So it's a fun treat for us because sometimes Dr. George is a turkey, sometimes she's a pharaoh, and it's a fun way to start off our week. Some other themes that you could do with your students are superhero week, favorite TV show, decade, roaring 20s, sports name. And again, this would be something that they earn and choose either for the class, the teacher, themselves, however you want to set that up. And these virtual field trips, I just think that they are such such a cool thing that is being shared right now, being that we aren't able to travel and go on field trips and see cool things, even though we wouldn't typically go on field trips to some of these places listed here. I think that they're also another great way that you could use those group contingencies to set it up to where if a student earns a certain amount of points, then they get to select the class field trip of the week and base the lesson around that. Your local businesses and community partnerships can be a huge value during this time. So not only are you able to provide some awesome and potentially unique ways of rewarding your students, staff, and families, you can also help out your local businesses during a time in which I'm sure a lot of businesses right now could use the support. So these are just a few extra resources, ideas for rewards, also printouts of like coupons and PBIS bucks, stuff like that, and strategies, ideas, and so forth. So in closing, we really don't know what's going on behind closed doors. So logging into Canvas, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, ClassDojo, or even receiving your classwork packets, that may be the only positive interaction that a student is having with other adults and possibly peers at this time. So that use of positive feedback that you're providing may be the one thing that brought a smile to your students or even a whole family's or staff member's face today or this week. So keep all of that in mind. All right, so that is pretty much all I have for you guys today. As always, check out our website. We continue to put out more resources. Oh, goodness, it seems almost daily now. We have all kinds of great stuff for you guys. The best way to find out what we've got going on is through our social media accounts. So check us out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. All of our recordings are posted on YouTube and then posted in our live binders as well. So I'm going to open up the chat box for a few moments before I do our poll for the day. But if anyone has any questions, or if you want to share what you're doing with your schools right now, please do share. If you're doing anything that's creative and outside of the box for your students and your staff or your families, please let us know. We'd love to hear those unique ideas. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and put that poll up for you guys asking how helpful was today. So if you could just let us know if it was very helpful, somewhat neutral, or my goodness, Rebecca, this was not helpful at all.
And Rebecca, this is Brooke. I'm just going to chime in real quick. We were talking a little bit about this right before we got started. But for those of you who are district coordinators and were not able to get on this morning's DC meeting, if you go to that recording when it gets posted, there's lots of examples in there as well around some of the positive reinforcement strategies that our schools are using.
Yes, thank you. I forgot about that. If you were in our DC meeting, yes, they had some great ideas shared from our other Florida schools around the state. We do
And as
have.
you,
Go ahead.
oops, sorry. And
No,
if you post for your own school or district some of your strategies for virtual PBIS, don't forget to tag us in them.
absolutely. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and close out our poll. All right. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you, Aurora. It's great having all of you today. Yes, I can send out yes, so the PowerPoint here, I can send the link to all of the handouts they're here. The recording will be there within the next 24 hours or so. And yes, I can send out a attendance or participation certificate as well for everyone who joined us today. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. All right, we'll see you guys next time.